and welcome to our video. Today I'll be showing you how I made these lovely little magnet flowers using the adhesive magnetic paper. So here is the file that I used. The details of this will be in the post below. So the first thing that I'm going to do is resize the size of the canvas by using the page setup. Now I made a slight mistake with these, and I resized the canvas to A4. The magnetic paper is actually slightly smaller than that, so what you need to do is using the custom settings here and type in the actual values, but for now I'll just carry on with the video. So now I'm just resizing the whole file so that it fits nicely on my paper, and I'm going to ungroup them so that I can deal with each element separately. Now this is the largest part of the flower, and that's going to be cut out of the magnetic paper and also cut out of card stock to form the flower. So I'm just going to move everything that we don't want cutting out of magnetic paper to one side. And then I'm going to copy and paste the base of the flower, because we want two copies of this, one out of magnetic paper and one out of cardstock. So I decided to do 6 flowers, so what I'm going to do is highlight this and then use the duplicate tool to duplicate 6 of them. I'm rotating it slightly so they fit nicer on the paper. Okay, there we go, I've got 6, and now I'm just going to rotate them slightly just to make sure they all fit on the paper nicely. What I'm not going to do is resize them, because then they'll be smaller than the paper bit. Okay, so once I've done that, I'm going to group them and just move them to one side so that I can just grab them later to cut out the magnetic paper. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the 3 sizes of petals. So I want 3 per flower. So that's enough for 1 flower. I'm going to duplicate them so I've got enough for 2 flowers in each sheet. And then I'm just going to rotate them again slightly just to get the best fit, and group them all together and move them to one side so they're ready for cutting. And then I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the yellow part of the flower inside and make sure I've got 6 copies of those. Okay. So now I'm going to move the flowers for the magnetic paper back on, and I'm going to do send, make sure I've got them selected to cut, and then just using the drop down menu I'm going to select the default settings for the magnetic adhesive paper. There we go. And then click send when you're ready. Okay, so here's just a quick demonstration of the machine actually cutting out the magnetic paper. You want the white side up, and the machine, I just used the default settings that were preloaded, and these did cut really well. They didn't cut quite all the way through. You did have to press the design out at the end, but actually that worked pretty well when I did it. And here's just a close-up so you can see how it looks when you're actually cutting it. Okay, so here's the flower. So I've got my magnetic backing. I'm just going to peel off the sticker part, and then I'm using the largest flower part and sticking it to the base as carefully as I can. There we go. And then I'm going to take the 2 top petals and just use my thumb and finger to curl the petals round. I'm going to do that with both parts. and then simply use a glue stick to glue all the parts of the flower together. I tried to do these two so it was slightly off centre, each of the petals, so they were staggered because it looked to be more natural to me. And then these are the yellow parts. So all the coloured parts are just cut out of cardstock that I had already. So, and then the back part was from the magnetic stuff. So there are two parts to this inner bit. So I'm just sticking the back together, and then just using my fingers to fold over the stamens, and then glue that in the centre. And also the inner part of the flower as well. So if you wanted to, another thing you could do with this is using some inks. You could ink the edges of the petals and the stamens just to give them a bit more depth. I didn't at this because I didn't really feel that I wanted to for the look I wanted to achieve, but if you wanted something that looked a little bit more natural, you could do that. And then just using some glue, stick that to the magnetic part. And then I'm just going to fold over a couple of petals forward and also a couple of petals backwards randomly, just because when you see flowers they're not quite perfect and they were looking just a little bit too perfect, and they just had a better effect if you had a few petals folded or curled over in different directions. And then just do the inner stamens again. There we go, all done.